Well, if you look behind me, you can see that the excavator showed up today, which is sweet, because that means progress. I'm currently standing in the trench that he dug. As you can see, it's a big old hole. I'll just jump down in here. It is extremely difficult today to film somewhere where the sun isn't glaring in my face. So I crouched down in the hole. But so this right here where it's coming out is, so this is the sewer line. So this is the city sewer line. And don't worry, before you think that I'm touching a nasty sewer line, it has not been used yet. This is a new house, and so this it's just brand new pipe is all that it is, so it's not dirty. This stuff that you see dripping out of here is glue, so they make sure they seal it up tight, so you wouldn't want a sewage leak, would you? But anyway, this pipe that's coming out of the ground right here is the city sewer. So in every single lot in a development, they do this underground before you can build on it, and then they bury it. So they do the same thing with the power and with gas and with all that stuff. It's all already underground. So as I said in a previous video, there's always spray paint on the dirt. Before the excavators start digging, someone comes out and they mark out the utilities. So they'll mark out where all these things are, so the excavator doesn't just come here and dig blind. He doesn't just claw around until he hits something, and he'd probably break a bunch of stuff that way, right? So somebody comes out and marks it all, and then he's able to unearth it, dig it up like this, and connect to it. So you can see behind me, he dug this big long trench that goes over into our house. I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so here is where it goes under the house. You can see, so this is the, so if you remember a few episodes ago, I showed you the footings, right? The very first forms, the very first wood forms that were built just on the dirt that they filled with concrete. So this is a footing. So they actually dig under the footing and they take the sewer line under the house this way. And so it'll be accessible in the crawl space. And then when the plumber comes and starts hooking everything up, he'll attach to that part in the crawl space. And then this big pipe sticking out is what's called the clean out. And this actually, when the house is done, will be accessible. So it'll just have like a screw-on cap up here on the top. And you'll be able to see it in the landscaping. By code, we're required to make it visible. And the reason being is that if your house was ever to get clogged, so like say, the thing that usually happens is people usually flush like a bunch of flushable wipes, or they use just regular wet wipes or whatever, and they flush them, and it clogs the pipes. And often it'll clog the pipes between the house and the street. So in the event that your house, all your plumbing was backed up and the clog was between the house and the street, this pipe, this clean out is where, whatever plumber would come and he'd stick his little snake thing in there and clean out your house and clean out your pipes so you wouldn't be all clogged up anymore. So that's what this is. And that is where it's coming out on the other side under the house in the crawl space, and is where the plumber will connect to. So now I'm on the other side of the house in another trench that our excavator dug. And so now I'm on the side that the garage is on. And on this side, this is where like the water line comes in and the power and the gas. And also like the cable and internet and stuff, but that stuff comes later. So for right now, if you see behind me, there's this big gray pipe, and that is for power. And there's nothing in there right now, it's just an empty pipe. But so when the electricians come, or the power company comes, they'll pull all their wires through this big old pipe and they'll run it up to the house. So that's what this gray pipe is for. Right behind me here, I don't know if you can see, it's blue where it came in from the city, and then it turns into this black pipe, and it goes all the way to the back of the house. And this is the gas line. And I know it's kind of counterintuitive that the gas line would be yellow. I always figured the gas line would be red. I always figured the electrical stuff would be yellow, because I don't know, like a lightning bolt is yellow. Power seems to always be yellow, but it's not. Gas is yellow, and I don't know why. So there you can see behind me the street, and then all the utilities that were brought in underground, and so now they're running to the house. And so right here is where the power meter will be, and also the gas meter. So the power and the gas will both come up right here and be on the side of the house. And so this is where they'll be able to pull all their stuff through. They'll just fish it through this big tube. If we keep walking down, and it's actually pretty important to know that when they're marking stuff out, that gas is yellow and power is red, because when you see that spray paint on the ground that's yellow and red, that it's marking out for those two different things. So there'll be yellow spray paint for gas and red spray paint for power. So that's what those are. There, so I just turned the corner, walking through that trench, and you can see the black pipe down here. Remember, black is water, so this is the water line. So you can see down here, there's this little hole, and this is where they run the water line into the house, into the crawl space. So same thing, so they have to fish the water line from the street where they dug that big trench, or that big hole, and then dig a big trench all the way around the house, and then dig a hole under the crawl space, or under the footing, and then into the crawl space. And then you can see in there where it came out, and they just ran it wild because they'll cut it off eventually, but for now it doesn't matter. They'll just cut it off. Now, when you're talking about utilities, you might wonder, man, how do you know? You know, it seems like an important thing to get right. You know, an entire house has to be done right, but man, you know, utilities, your sewer line, your gas and power, and all that stuff, that's got to be done right. And so at this point, so now they have it all hooked up, right? So they've connected to the city lines. And now it's just open and exposed. And they had their big machine here today, and the reason that they didn't fill it back in yet is because this has to get inspected. So there are various points during the building process that the city requires that we have an inspection done. And so there's actually a person employed by the city who is an expert with codes and you know, and rules and all that kind of stuff. So we schedule it, or the contractor will schedule it. They'll come out and check everybody's work and make sure that it gets done right. So I think they just did this afternoon, put all this stuff in. And so what that means is that tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow morning, the inspector will come, and if we pass, then our excavators will get the green light and they'll be able to backfill all this in. So they'll be able to bring dirt in and fill all these trenches and stuff and compact it down so that we can get ready for flat work. If we fail, they have to make all the fixes. It's pretty rare that they fail this particular inspection. They usually do it right. There's some other inspections down the road that are a little more difficult to pass just because of how many different parts and areas there are, like framing, for example. So this one, I've never actually heard of it failing, but I'm sure people do. But anyway, so I assume it'll pass tomorrow morning, and then our excavators will be able to come back and fill it all back in. We'll be able to keep moving. Well, this day comes to a close with not as much done as I would like, but the job is actually still on schedule, so we're okay. I was hoping that all the dirt would be filled in and prepared for flat work, but it's not. But that's not a problem. So there were really only two things that got done today. One is this right here. So if you have a house that has a gas meter, you have one of these probably. This is called a gas meter bar. So if you remember yesterday, the one line that was coming out of the ground that was yellow was the gas line. So today, the gas company connected to it, and they ran that line underground through the trench, and then they popped it up right here, and they put this on, which is called the meter bar. Now when the house is further along and we're ready to fire up like the water heater and the furnace and all that stuff to test it, the gas company will actually come and put a meter on. For now, all it is a bar. It's essentially just the parts that the meter needs to attach to. So it's not a huge step, but progress is progress. You can see too, they did, so I am standing on where the trench was yesterday, so they did fill that in, but it's not compacted and it's not done yet. You can see behind me, so like right behind me right now is the garage, and it's obviously not filled in yet, so that has to be done tomorrow. And you can see behind me there's still a trench that goes further back behind the house, so they still have plenty of work tomorrow to do to prep all the dirt and compact it and get it ready for flat work. So I also talked about yesterday that there are certain parts of the home building process that have to get inspected by the city. And so this tag right here is the indication that we passed the sewer inspection, which means that we have permission to fill all this in, cover it up, and keep moving forward on the house. All right, well, take a good look, because this is the last time you'll see it before all the dirt is filled back in, and it's gonna look a lot different. Thanks for watching. I'm Jake Wilkins with Alturas Homes. See you next time.